In Algorithms to Live By, Brian Christian and Tom Griffiths make the case that computer science, a field that's typically seen as highly specialized, actually contains a wealth of practical knowledge we can use to improve our lives. Computers can process tasks efficiently and quickly develop creative solutions to complex problems. The authors assert that, by utilizing the same strategies as computers, we can do the same. The authors argue that humans and computers face similar problems. Both humans and computers are motivated to use their limited resources, which include memory, attention, and time, as optimally as possible. Consequently, many of the algorithms, or sets of instructions, that computers use to solve their problems work just as well in our lives. The book discusses 11 algorithms to live by. Algorithm number 1, how to know when to settle.
To choose the best from a series of options, explore without committing for the first 37%, then commit to the next top pick you see.
This algorithm is designed to solve something mathematicians call an optimal stopping problem. When faced with a series of options, when do you settle down and commit to the opportunity in front of you, if you don't know what opportunities will be available in the future? For example, imagine you're looking for a job and know your skills are in high demand. After a few days of searching, you receive an offer that's better than any available positions you've seen so far. However, it doesn't have everything you're looking for. Do you take it, or keep searching for better options? According to the authors, statisticians have determined that the optimal way to solve this problem is to initially reject all opportunities, exploring your options, to get a sense of what quality looks like. Then, at a certain point, commit to the next option that's better than any you've seen so far. By calculating the probability that you pick the best option available for every possible pivot point, from exploration to commitment, researchers have determined that you should explore for the first 37% of options, then commit to the next best opportunity. Algorithm number 2, how to optimize your life. The next algorithm is a broader directive that applies to any area of your life you want to improve.
To optimize your life, pursue whatever opportunity has a chance to be the greatest.
The authors frame life as a complex, multi-armed bandit problem, referring to computer scientists' model in machine learning. The multi-armed bandit is a theoretical experiment in which a decision-making agent is presented with a row of slot machines, one-armed bandits, and must try out different machines, learning from the outcomes to figure out which will pay off the most. They explain that the multi-armed bandit problem's optimal solutions are called upper confidence-bound algorithms, which recommend making decisions based on your options' best-case scenarios. Pursue whatever opportunity in life has the potential to pay out the most, even if you think it's extremely unlikely, since the only way to know for sure whether or not it'll pay off is to test it yourself. Then, if you've given something a shot and determined that it's not worth your while, adjust accordingly and shoot for the moon somewhere else. Algorithm number 3, how to predict the future. The next algorithm addresses the problem of an unpredictable future.
To make better predictions, first, use your prior knowledge of the situation to estimate the chances of something happening, then adjust, based on observable data.
This strategy of using your prior beliefs to analyze the evidence you have is called Bayes' rule. For example, if you want to predict when you'll receive a raise at work, you might begin by asking a coworker how long it took for them to get a raise. Then adjust that estimate, based on how you think your boss views your performance. Algorithm number 4, why you should make less informed decisions.
To make better decisions, consider less information.
With this algorithm, the authors address the problem of overfitting. In statistics and machine learning, overfitting occurs when a model takes too many variables into account, resulting in faulty understanding. Authors argue that, in the same way, if you consider too many variables, when making a decision, you'll overfit, overestimating the impact of insignificant information, and underestimating the details that really matter. The trick to conquering overfitting is consciously restricting the amount of information you consider when making decisions. Identify 1 or 2 factors that matter the most and ignore everything else. For example, you may decide what job to take solely based on how much you expect to enjoy the work. Algorithm number 5, how to schedule your time. Computers use algorithms chosen for their specific needs to determine what tasks to focus on first. Likewise, the authors state that
Your optimal scheduling algorithm differs based on your goals and priorities.
Authors assert that most of the time, your highest priority is to complete whatever tasks earn you the most value. They advise you to assign a weight, a numerical measurement of value, to every item on your list. By dividing this weight by the amount of time it'll take to complete the task, you can calculate how much value you're generating every hour that you work. Then, you should simply work at any time on whatever gives you the most value. Another scheduling algorithm recommended is shortest processing time, which tells you to work on whatever task will take the shortest time to complete. You may use this algorithm if you require motivation, or are stressed and overwhelmed by a large number of tasks. Algorithm number 6, how to organize your belongings. This algorithm is intended to give you easy access to the things you need.
To efficiently access any collection, segment it based on the frequency of use.
Computers can efficiently search their vast stores of data by grouping what needs to be accessed most frequently in searching these caches first. In the same way, the authors recommend you cache your physical belongings by creating small piles of your most frequently used clothes, books, and files within arm's reach of where you'll need them. Algorithm number 7, how to sort like a computer. This algorithm dictates the most efficient way to sort a group of items into a specific order. They argue that we should use the same sorting algorithms computers use to arrange files to sort physical collections in our lives efficiently. The best sorting strategy is first to divide the collection into small categories, then rearrange individual items. A computer algorithm known as bucket sort. This algorithm is based on the fact that sorting gets more difficult with scale. Sorting a large group takes significantly more time than sorting 4 groups 1/4 of its size. For example, if your boss were to ask you to sort 20 years worth of old archive meetings, on VHS by date, you would want to use a bucket sort. First, divide them into piles by year, then arrange the smaller piles by hand. Algorithm number 8, how to solve impossible problems. The world is incredibly complex, and many problems are literally impossible to solve precisely. Authors argue that
the best way to solve problems like these is to strategically embrace imperfection.
Even when experts use computers to make exact calculations, they often trade away accuracy to save time. From this, the authors conclude that simply lowering your standard for success is often necessary to keep moving forward. In some cases, where it's impossible to find the perfect solution, getting close is just as good. In other cases, it is suggested to employ the mathematical problem-solving strategy of constraint relaxation. By removing some constraints and solving an easier version of your problem, you spark new ideas to help solve the original problem. Algorithm number 9, how to solve your problems by acting randomly. This algorithm is all about the power of randomness.
To move past dead ends, act randomly.
The authors explain that computers use something called the hill-climbing algorithm to solve problems. They calculate a solution, then slowly improve it by testing out small adjustments. When developing their problem-solving strategies, people naturally follow a similar process. However, both computers and humans run into the same issue with hill climbing. Eventually, they hit a local maximum, a solution that can't be improved by small adjustments, yet is far from the best solution available. The way to escape local maxima is an injection of irrational randomness. By making a few random, intentionally suboptimal decisions, you can discover new solutions you couldn't see before and get unstuck. Feeling stagnant and directionless in life? Pick up a random new hobby or move to a random new town. Algorithm number 10, how to use game theory. This next algorithm shows us how we should view the rules that govern our society.
To prevent collective harm, design the rules of the game to create win-win scenarios.
We can view many systems in our society as competitive games and analyze them using game theory. In game theory, a Nash equilibrium occurs when every player has settled into the best possible strategy available to them, stabilizing its outcome. According to the authors, policymakers must ensure that the system's Nash equilibrium results in an outcome that benefits all players, a process known as mechanism design. For example, laws that regulate overfishing are meant to adjust the Nash equilibrium of the game of commercial fishing. If unregulated, the optimal strategy for each fisher is to catch and sell as many fish as possible. Unfortunately, the fishers in this Nash equilibrium may drive a population of fish to extinction, which harms all players. By penalizing overfishing, the laws cause sustainable fishing to become the new optimal strategy, creating a new Nash equilibrium. Algorithm number 11, How to Enhance Communication. This algorithm draws from the Internet's networking protocols.
To communicate effectively, listeners need to signal that they've received the message.
The authors explain that when a computer connects to a server, both sides exchange acknowledgement packets, or ACKs, to ensure that the connection is stable. These short messages tell the other computer that its message has been received. These ACKs are a vitally necessary part of the communication process, making up a huge portion of all uploaded data. Similarly, acknowledgement is an extremely important part of human communication, and it's one that we often overlook. Recent research in linguistics has focused on backchannels, a listener's short interjections that acknowledge a speaker's message, without ending their turn to speak. It takes more than being quiet and polite to be a good listener. If you don't give active feedback, communication falls apart. Conclusion. Knowing that you are using an optimal algorithm should be a relief, even if you don't get the results you were looking for. The 37% rule fails 63% of the time. Maintaining your cache with LRU doesn't guarantee that you will always find what you're looking for. In fact, neither would clairvoyance. Using the upper confidence-bound approach to the explore-exploit trade-off doesn't mean that you will have no regrets. Just that those regrets will accumulate slowly as you go through life. Even the best strategy sometimes yields bad results, which is why computer scientists take care to distinguish between process and outcome. If you follow the best possible process, then you've done all you can, and you shouldn't blame yourself if things didn't go your way. In almost every domain we've considered, we have seen how the more real-world factors we include, whether it's having incomplete information when interviewing job applicants or dealing with a changing world when trying to resolve the explore-exploit dilemma, the more likely we are to end up in a situation where finding the perfect solution takes unreasonably long. And indeed, people are almost always confronting what computer science regards as the hard cases. Effective algorithms make assumptions against such hard cases, show a bias toward simpler solutions, trade off the costs of error against the costs of delay, and take chances. These aren't the concessions we make when we can't be rational. They are what being rational means.